One of the more difficult calls that I responded to as a medic was from a night shift. My partner and I had been dispatched to a male hanging suicide in the foyer of an apartment building. When we arrived on scene, fire was already there and they were working on removing the individual from the hanging apparatus that he had used. And we watched him get cut down and they handed over care to us, and we began our best life-saving measures, every protocol we had in the book. And I was working with a fairly seasoned paramedic, but new to the service. And so we worked him, and he decided to declare the individual deceased in the back of the ambulance, which effectively turns the ambulance into a crime scene. Not really, but for simplicity's sake. It just means that we can't go anywhere until police and coroner arrive, effectively taking the ambulance out of service. And so we were waiting on scene for a while, and we hear a knock on the door, and I open the side door, and there's a police officer there with a distraught woman who identified herself as a family member and requested to see the individual. And we explained that there's breathing tubes and IV lines and stickers and a lot of shrapnel from running a code. And she was adamant she had to see him. And so we escorted her into the ambulance, and she was obviously overcome with emotion. And eventually the police officer removed her, and we were relieved from scene by a supervisor who decided to wait around for the coroner's service, and we got placed onto another ambulance and continued our night shift. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I'm in a grocery store on one of my days off, and I have a basket in my hand, and I just hear a voice, and I didn't hear what it said at first, but the second time it said, "Why did he do it?" And I turn and I look, and I swear I'm looking at a ghost, because it looks exactly like the hanging man. And at that point in my career, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for me to see things that weren't necessarily happening in the moment. And so I was very taken aback. I didn't say anything. I was nonverbal. I just kind of stared. And it was revealed to me by the man himself that it was his brother. They were twins. And he wanted to know why his brother took his own life. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond. I was still dealing with a lot of different emotions. And so I put the basket down, and I left. I walked out of the grocery store. I didn't get any groceries. I went to a bar, and I got absolutely hammered drunk. I don't know how I got home that night. I think whoever I was in a relationship with at the time, I think they came to get me, I think. But 2 days later, I returned to work and never said anything about it to anyone. Back then, drinking in silence was the way I coped. And the way I cope now is by talking to you. Because I know that there's people out there, first responders out there, paramedics out there, doing this job, doing these things, going through these things. And I want you to know, it does get better. You can get better.